What is your favorite video game nobody knows anymore? Welcome to Reddit Rundown. Today, we will share again one of the top relatable posts in Reddit's Ask Reddit page. Earthworm Jim edit. Oh, and Revolution X. Earthworm Jim was one of my obsessions as a kid. I still think about it regularly. I had the Sega games and watched the TV show. I loved it so much. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon edit. Wow. I just put an obscure game from my Lost Distance passed down, and here we are. Thank you for the awards, my peeps. Deeply appreciated. I played the SNES and GBA versions. I did try my hand at some of the JP-only games on emulator, but not as fun when you don't know the language. My pa bought me the N64 version when he took me birthday shopping a day or two before my actual birthday, back in '97, at Electronic Boutiques, now defunct, about 15 years ago, if any Brits remember. I played that game so much I broke an N64, and the game from repeatedly putting it in the console I'm ocked. And as a child I would order things and return games to boxes and put things away neatly. Cartridges would be worn out from repeated use, and me not being a gentle child, a long overdue apology to my parents. In hindsight, disc consoles were probably a blessing to them. I hadn't played Goemon for nearly 20 years, until about 2017-2018. I couldn't get an emulated copy to work properly. It was one of those infamous games. Getting to run via emulator was a struggle. But my childhood came rushing back to me. I think the EU series is due another run-through. I loved the N64, if that's the one you're talking about by chance. It was so bizarre. The areas were a bit large and felt slightly generic, and a little empty at times, but the characters and cutscenes were epic. This is Reddit. You can find every type of gamer here, so I will say caveman games for the NES and 5 mine later. Someone will say they loved that game, or at least knew of it. Legend of Legaia, an old PS1 jerk with a really fun battle system and awesome character progression. The characters got their powers from symbiotes that attached to their arms. At certain levels or points in the story, the symbiotes would grow and change. Leveling up was always exciting, waiting with bated breath to see their new forms. Edit. Baked to batted edit 2 fixed better. F-Zero GX is my favorite racing game of all time, and the game was an absolute technical triumph for something that ran on the GameCube in 2003. Being able to run 30 racers on screen moving at blistering speeds as gorgeous backdrops fly by, all at a rock-solid, unbroken 60 FPS. On GameCube hardware, I'm honestly not sure how they pulled it off. And it's a great example of what's possible when a developer really knows how to optimize a game to run on the hardware they're working with. It's such a fast-paced, genuinely challenging game, and the sheer sense of speed along with the rush of finishing some of those tough-as-nails story mode chapters is unlike anything else. It's a shame that the game didn't sell all that well, because it seems Nintendo hasn't felt the need to make a new F-Zero game since GX. I honestly can't even believe we're approaching 20 years since we've had a new F-Zero game. But I suppose even if we never got another, at least GX was an absolute blast and a great swan song for the series. Time Splitters? Gauntlet. Dark Legacy. Legends was my childhood fave. Not really a game that everyone forgot, but Castle Crashers was the crap. I love Grim Fandango. I haven't played it in years though. I've forgotten enough that it'll be like I'm playing it for the first time. Thanks for reminding me about it. Apparently less people than I thought know about Dino Crisis. The first Driver was great. Every sequel was somehow worse. Neverwinter Nights. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Lego Jurassic World? Anybody remember that? Lemmings and Lode Runner. Heretic. Twisted Metal. Mischief Makers. It's such a ridiculous sounding concept and storyline, but it's so much fun. Edit. Thank you for the award. Oddly enough, Mischief Makers is the one and only game I ever hated enough to sell as a kid. Well, technically my parents made me sell a couple of N64 games, so I could have a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow, but when I had to pick the ones I was going to sell, Mischief Makers was an instant choice. Problem is I disliked it for really dumb reasons. The main character annoyed me, and I didn't like her annoying idle animation where she rocked back and forth on her mum thighs. I didn't like the fact that it was a 2D side-scroller on a console where 3D games were the new and exciting thing. I remember thinking stuff like, didn't you get the memo? Games are 3D now, keep up. This isn't the Super Nintendo anymore. I should probably give it a second go one day. Chances are I remember it being worse than it actually was, haha. There was this Bruce Lee game on Commodore 64 that was so much fun to play. Another was Heist, also on Commodore 64. Chopper Command on C64 was my jam. Fond memories of that machine. Impossible Mission, Aztec Challenge, Jumpman Jr., Robots of Dawn. Those stand out the most in my mind. I did have a game called Kung Fu Master, which might be the Bruce Lee game you're referring to. The Overlord series. It's funny and a parody of a lot of fantasy tropes. Skies of Arcadia. Bought it on a whim for my Dreamcast, and it fast became my favorite game. Especially loved the minigame with the memory card. My childhood was spent booting Myst and Alone in the Dark from DOS. Star Fox Adventures. Commander Keen. MachWarrior. If they made that today, would be so awesome. Bushido Blade PS1. Ultima 7 would be my choice. Faxanadu. Millen's Secret Castle. Faxanadu's visual and musical themes are a stark contrast to most of the games that were on the NES. I feel fortunate to have played that to completion when it was new. Millen's Secret Castle was impossible for me as a child, but I was able to clear it without a problem later on. Lovely how that bonus stage music developed. This is Reddit Rundown. If you are new here, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Thanks for watching.